Hello everyone. Today I have fixed my setup so that I'm closer to the camera because I've learned that this camera quality is very low. So it's better if I just stay close because the farther away I get, the more it kind of looks like water, it like flutters, and it just doesn't look good. And today I'm going to be revisiting Carl Rogers's philosophy, I'll call it, his psychology. Because it's one of the, not only the most beautiful ideas in psychology, it also happens to be one of the most effective ways of not only creating a better you, but becoming happier even when it's hard to improve. I'll just put it that way. And I think it's not only a scientifically accurate way of looking at the world. It's also, it's hard to explain. It really is. Let me just get into the ideas and I'll go from there. Before I start, if you enjoy this video, then send it to somebody. I intend to grow somewhat of an audience here. I'm starting very small with just a handful of people. I know who you are. I see when you come to check out what's happening on my channel. I'm going to be making psychology content. I'm going to be making React content. I'm going to be making maybe some gaming content down the line because that's fun. Gaming is fun to watch. You know, it's the kind of thing you can put on a screen somewhere and not really have to think about, so that's cool. And yeah, I guess I can get right into it at this point. So to give the topic some relevance and some significance, I'm going to relate it to your experience as best as I can, just as a human being, right? In terms of human experiences, what does that look like? As a human being, what is life? So I'm starting a bit big, but also very specific at the same time, I guess. Obviously, because it gets at what each individual experiences specifically in general. It's important to understand what we are. And what we are organisms. We are flesh and bone and nerves and proteins and cells, and we are matter. Most of what we are is matter. Doesn't matter even if you come from a religious background, because there is there is obviously some sense of, like, in terms of our experiences of life, we can understand it in terms of certain religious language like the soul. But even within those religious backgrounds, the soul is carried by matter, or carries matter, whichever way you want to have it, or is imbued in the matter, or matter is the soul. Either way, the matter is involved. The stuff, the flesh, the blood, the chemicals, the dust and the rocks and the particles that are carried in the liquid that is our bloodstream to the various organs, where they saturate into them and are extracted from them and removed. And at a more elevated level, there are the feelings that arise from all of those interacting particles and cooperating systems and interacting organs in the form of feelings and emotions and moods. And we're still talking physical here. Emotions are influenced by neurochemistry and, levels of dopamine and serotonin and cortisol and norepinephrine and adrenaline and all those things, reaching different parts of the brain, like the amygdala, which is an almond-shaped area in the brain, sort of towards the center-ish. I don't know the exact terminology for the locations, but I don't need to for the purposes of this video. And the hippocampus, which is also towards the center, the limbic system, which is, I believe it's common to mammals. I think it's common to a large proportion of the tree of life, if I remember correctly. And that again is all tied into our chemistry and our... Hey Siri, which system in the body is involved with glands and hormones? And it's all influenced by the endocrine system, which releases hormones from all the various significant glands in the body, which are all influenced by things we digest, things that occur to the body, whether it be damage or healing in the form, obviously, of medical interventions and what we digest. We're a bit like trees, not completely, obviously, but we're like trees that move. We're like plants that move and have built very sophisticated additional cellular structures, if that makes sense. We grow from the food we feed ourselves. Certain parts of us only grow at later times because of our genetics. And by genetics, I obviously want to also keep in mind what we're talking about. We're talking about atoms and chemicals that have a certain logical inhibiting system. Some elements of growth are inhibited, if I can use that language, until later on in life. Think of a watch. We're obviously not quite as precise as a watch, but we're as precise as we need to be to survive. There's lots of things about humans that are quite imprecise, but that further illustrates our material nature. We're just like the material world. We're a little bit clunky at times, we're a little bit faulty here and there. Overall, we get the job done. And what emerges from all of those interacting systems and the reallocation of all the nutrients that we digest into our various body parts, the reallocation of all of those chemicals into the different places that they travel around the body, is the organismic life. The ongoing process of organismic experience. This is where we can start talking about Carl Rogers. Now, among all of these many different parts of us is a network and a collection of interacting systems, chemical systems, neurological systems, and even muscular systems to some extent. And these systems that I'm mentioning now that are highly relevant, they have a built-in logic to them, into the neurons in the form of neuronal logic and neurochemical logic, and this logic is social. This is another added layer of complexity to this very complex being that we are as humans. This social aspect, in order to have become built social, we needed to be aware of sociality, sociability, the sociological world in which other organisms exist. This began very long ago when we were cellular beings, discovering chemically within our little chemical milieus, there were other organisms. That was the beginning of proto-sociality, and that developed until we have what we have today. So the awareness of other organisms came through experience and intergenerational adaptation to those experiences and such awareness. We could feel the chemicals of other organisms around us. Then we could feel the contact of other organisms around us. And this is a simplified version, but you get the idea. Eventually, we developed neuronal pathways and eyes and ears, and all of these just added more evidence that other organisms existed around us. And so we developed adaptations to that reality, further complexifying our organismic experience. Again, we're going through all of this to understand what we are, our fleshy, bony transport systems for the soul, if I can use that language for a moment. Now, these social systems that I've laid out, embedded within them is the ability and the logic that creates that ability in the neuronal pathways and the chemical systems and all of that to feel guilt and shame. The ability to inhibit oneself from behaviors arising out of pro-social organismic experience that has been embedded in us over the generations. Now, if you're following, you can see the physical systems in your mind a little bit. There's neurons, there's chemicals, there's organs. Our perceptions of how we see ourselves in the social world impact the chemicals, which impact our organs, which impact our behaviors, which impact our perceptions, and so on. Because of all of this, all of these systems, the organismic experience is powerful and deep And for all intents and purposes, it is all encompassing. For all intents and purposes, as far as we're concerned, it's all encompassing. It is the thing which the organismic experience is life. That is where life resides. And this social aspect is most clearly demonstrated in our development from childhood. This social aspect is so deeply integrated into us that when we grow up, what our parents tell us shapes who we become to a significant extent. I mean, just think about this. You're fresh into this world. You don't know anything. You're still learning. Your neurons are still growing. You don't even have all your neurons in your head until you're like 5 or 6, if I remember correctly, maybe 7, 8. And then your full neuronal capacity develops between 12 and 18, between 12 and 25 for some cognitive abilities. And the parents you're born with interact with that system. I mean, you've got some inborn abilities, right? You have a certain capacity to pick up on sounds and what they mean. You know the word, you figure out what the word no means. You figure out what that sound means that big version of you standing over there is gonna, take away. They're gonna do this with the thing that you've got in your, whatever these are called. You've got a thing in there and you're holding it. It means they're gonna use their versions of whatever these are called and move it away from your, whatever these things are called. You get what I'm saying? You learn the meaning of that sound, no, or don't do that, right? That capacity to pick up on what those sounds are and what they mean is in you. But what those sounds are announced in relation to are up to the parents. They have tremendous power over what the thoughts in your head will be for the next 20 years, over what emotions you will have the proclivity of feeling to some extent. Your temperament is something that is also influenced by inbuilt systems, but how those are shaped are affected. So think about what this means for the organismic experience. If your parents are highly effective and tactical and with prudence and foresight, they will be rewarded in their organismic experience, and you will be rewarded in your organismic experience, because they're planning ahead for you and for them. Pictures flash in their mind of all the parts of your life that are still to come, and they aim to make those pictures vivid and positive. They imagine your organismic experience. With all of this said, it is clear that the world around you and all the other organisms affects your organismic experience. You are an organism interacting with other organisms. Let's say your parents, teachers, friends, associates, random people that you meet. Let's say they want something and it requires you to deny some part of your organismic experience. You need every part of yourself. You need to experience all the emotions. You need to experience the full depth of the organismic experience, because that's what the organismic experience is. Not optional. It is life. To deny any part of the organismic experience is to deny part of life. You need all of these systems interacting optimally. Perhaps at sometimes some systems should override some other systems, but not permanently. Sometimes, because of the influence of other organisms, and sometimes in the influence of the environment that we're in, we consistently end up inhibiting aspects of our organismic experience. Most often because it's been invalidated by another organism around us, another person, another being. They teach you to associate that part of your organismic experience with some kind of pain, and then you cease to continue allowing that part of your organismic experience. The way out, Carl Rogers explained, is unconditional positive regard towards the part that has been denied or distorted. Every part of you is necessary without condition. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be making people happy for your happiness or your emotions to be necessary. They are inherently necessary. They are functional. You are functional. You are necessary. You are needed. as part of this great big system, and so are all of the parts of you necessary and needed for this system, for life, because life is the organismic experience that you feel and inhabit and contribute to. How can you be effective when you're not taking advantage of all of your systems within you? They're in there for a reason. Don't let the world, the environment, other organisms inhibit you when it's not in your interest, or even their interest. How will it help them if you're not at your best? They don't realize they're downgrading you. Disinhibit your organismic experience. Instead of denying, accept. And do the same to others, because they need their organismic experience just as much as you need yours. Share that. We won't always have another organism in our space to show us the unconditional positive regard towards our organismic experience, towards our life. And that's why it's essential to learn for ourselves how to show ourselves unconditional positive regard and enter consistently and return to the stream of life, the ongoing organismic experience. The moment you hear a voice telling you should be something, the moment you tell yourself you should be something, be skeptical. You already are what you need to be. So embrace that experience. Embrace the moment. That's where life is. If you want to learn more about Carl Rogers, you can look up his Wikipedia page, or you can just buy any basic psychology book. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. I'd like to talk more about some psychology stuff. If you'd like me to try and blend this kind of content in with a reaction video, or if you're interested in gaming videos, you can let me know. I know there will be a proportion of you who are. I guess that's all I need to say. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but every time I see it on YouTube, it seems to do this. Just exit full screen if you're in full screen and look at the buttons, right? I think when I say the word, it's going to do like a little sparkle. I'm going to test this and see. Please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notifications. I don't know if it worked, but usually when people do that, there's like a little sparkle. I want to see if it does it on mine. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, and I'll see you next time.